नमस्कार। शंकर लॉज की आज की मीटिंग में आप सबका स्वागत है। We will start the meeting with the universal prayer. O hidden light, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. So welcome friends. Today we have our national lecturer brother B.D. Tendulkar ji, and we welcome him. He'll be continuing his talk on the threefold human evolution: monadic, intellectual, and physical. This is based upon the book Divine Plan by Geoffrey Barborka. So I'll request all of you who can read this book to kindly go through it. So now I will request Brother Tendulkar ji to kindly start with his lecture.
Thank you, Brother Gupta ji. The topic we are dealing with today is threefold evolution of man. Generally, when we think of evolution, the scientific theory of evolution comes to our mind. Darwin's name is in the forefront, and they're followed by many other biologists and scientists. There are two lines of thought. One is the biogenesis and the other is abiogenesis. Biogenesis holds that one pre-existing life form gives rise to another life form, while abiogenesis holds that life originated from non-living matter. The biogenesis represents an important theory of biology and molecular genetics. Which presumes that production of new living forms or new living organism originates from existing organisms. In the idea of evolution, there is a progression from the lower types of life forms to higher types of forms. In the scientific theory, generally we hear of the ideas of survival of the fittest, who survives, one who can adapt to the changing surroundings, one who cannot generally perishes. One who can adapt survives. And further, we say survival of the fittest also. Those are who are the most capable of adapting themselves to the changing conditions will survive, others will perish. When we think of the occult theories of evolution, there is a different approach. The thing, the three aspects which we have mentioned in the topic relate to monadic, intellectual, and physical. Instead of monadic, perhaps we can also say spiritual. We talk of seven principles of man, where the highest principle is Atman, and the lowest is the grossest, you can say, from subtlest to grossest. The grossest is the physical body. This constitution of man is for the expression of that which is the subtlest, the Atman principle, which cannot manifest directly into the physical conditions. And therefore, it assumes coverings, or what we are known in Sanskrit as upadhis. Upadhi means that which substitutes. So for Atman, there is substitution by principles which can be considered in the hierarchical order, proceeding from the subtlest down to the grossest. Atman is the subtlest thing which cannot easily manifest. It is actually in the realm of unmanifest. Just as we apply the principle of stepping down in the case of high voltage electricity, for its application in the domestic appliances, the high voltage electricity cannot be directly utilized. It involves a risk of either short circuit or burning of the appliances. So there is a step down transformer which can reduce the voltage of the current of electricity, and then only it can be utilized for various purposes. Perhaps this simile can explain the difference between the seven principles of man. Why Atman cannot manifest on the physical plane directly. It uses buddhi as a vehicle, and gradually there is a stepping down. Then Atma Buddhi, this duad, joins with Manas, and that becomes a triad, and so on. And then it becomes possible for the Atman to express itself. The whole process of evolution is meant for the realization of the Atman on the physical plane. We always talk of Atman as a part of the Paramatman. It has been beautifully described in occultism as a spark from the flame. Flame represents the original source, while the spark represents a unit, which we normally refer to as monad. This infinitesimal fraction, however, contains all the essence of the source. That's why we say that man is the microcosm of the macrocosmic logos, or the absolute, which is the source of everything. And in order to express itself, as we just explained, it has to go through the process of first involution and then evolution. Involution is a process of spirit interpenetrating through the matter. So there is a resistance to the spirit, and a point is reached when two forces which act, generally which are referred to as centripetal and centrifugal forces. In the earlier stages, the spirituality goes on decreasing and materiality goes on increasing. And at a point when both are balanced, that means spirituality and materiality balance each other. That is a turning point, which generally we refer to as the pravrutti and nivrutti marga. From that point onwards, spirituality can again assert over materiality. So, when we talk of physical evolution, this point in the journey of the monad has a great significance. Till that time, the monadic journey is by natural impulse. There is, as it is said, inner urge to express itself, and that inner urge leads to a continuous movement. So, in the first half of the journey is a journey which involves growing resistance for the spirit or consciousness. And till that time, since the monad is fully gripped by the materiality, there is practically no freedom to follow its own course. But at a point of equilibrium, where the both forces are balanced, man becomes a free agent in nature, as it is said, which means being self conscious and having a willpower to assert himself, he can take its own course of evolution, not simply being dependent upon the nature's course of evolution, but his own individual journey. And for this, he needs this progressive improvement of its hidden potentials pertaining to physical, intellectual, and spiritual realms. Physical is achieved through evolution of the physical body. Intellectual is achieved with development and refinement of the mental body, and the spiritual is attained by the growth and development of the causal body. The first two, that is physical body, is purely material and therefore has a definite lifetime which corresponds with our life up to death, death of the physical body. Then the mental body survives, and that continues When mental body also comes to an end, then the causal body, which is a immortal portion of the human being, out of the seven principles we talked about, the lower principles or lower vehicles, we can say, um, when they are no longer there, man exists in his immortal form. Form is not a correct word. Those are principles only. So, Atma, Buddhi, Manas remains, which returns back periodically, and on every return, there is a change. The doctrine of continuous change we talk about, so that we see through the fact of reincarnation. Incarnation is a period of activity, then after that, there is a period of inactivity or rest, and again with reincarnation, period of activity starts. So these vehicles are subject to this periodical cyclic activity. Material does not vanish, it only changes its forms. Matter is indestructible, as the upward law says. So, what happens? The particles or the life atoms, or what we call as jivanus in Sanskrit, every atom carries life. There is no matter or particle or atom of matter without life. So every particle having life may disintegrate from the body, but will still be a living entity. And there is a process of evolution going on and applicable to every single particle of matter, individually as well as collectively, where the aggregation of particles result into beings, living beings. So the process of evolution involves two things: formation or creation of matter. Now, the matter is already existing in the space, but that matter is blind. It is homogeneous. It has to be transformed into a matter which is conscious and which can be utilized for building up vehicles for the monads, for their expression on the various planes, whether it is mental, astral, etheric, or physical. So, bodies appropriate to these various planes of consciousness need to be built up. So, building up of the bodies appropriate to the various levels of consciousness is the physical evolution. But even this is not the same as the evolution which science talks about. Science mainly talks about matter, while occultism talks about life and matter together. Because we say that there is no matter without life, while there is no such concept in science. So it is only the living matter which is capable of conversion into appropriate shapes, forms, giving rise to vehicles appropriate to the levels of consciousness. So naturally, we have to have vehicles which will allow the consciousness of the spirit to express and function through those vehicles. And the vehicles are useful as long as they are capable of functioning for expression of the potentialities, capacities, qualities of the spirit. Moment the vehicle becomes inoperative or ineffective to discharge this function of the spirit, the force which holds the matter of the vehicle together is withdrawn, and the vehicle starts splitting up, disintegrating into its constituent particles, which we call jivanus. So, as I said, matter is indestructible, and there is a common pool of matter to which the matter goes back after disintegration, and it also serves as a source of material for new creation. So both processes go on simultaneously. One can be called creation of new forms, and the other is destruction of the old forms. So the same material which goes out from the old forms is utilized for creation of the new forms. And this process is guided by the spirit. It is not that forms directly change and evolve into higher forms. As I mentioned, there is an inner force, inner urge guiding this process, which is achieved through continuous change, doctrine of continuous change. Motion is going on all the time. It never comes to stand still. Whether it is a period of activity or whether it is a period of rest, motion goes on. And that motion is expressed in terms of Nitya Sarga and Nitya Pralaya. Nitya Sarga is a process of constant creation, and Nitya Pralaya is a process of continuous breaking down or disintegration or disassociation of the particles of matter which are in aggregation. They are together as long as the form is functional. They are separate when the form no longer serves the purpose for which it has been brought into existence. So, continuous breaking down of the form goes on along with continuous upbuilding of the forms. That's why it has been said that even in case of human body, all the cells in the body, there are millions of them, are together, are changed. The body remains, but the all cells have gone out and new cells have replaced them. It is like a river which flows. The water every second flows down in the stream. So never there is the same water at any location in the river as long as it is flowing. The river exists, but the water changes all the time. Something similar to that we can observe in this phenomena of Nitya Sarga and Nitya Pralaya. So the whole body, the constituent parts, cells of the body have undergone replacement, and yet the body remains. And we can recognize the body even after lapse of 7 years as the same body. Of course, there is a period of growth of the body, then a period when it sustains in that state for some time, and then again there is a decline. So you will see that in the beginning, the Nitya Sarga process has an upper hand, while Nitya Pralaya process is subsidiary. Later on, they remain in balance. So the constant creation and constant breakdown processes are in balance. And then there is a decline when the constant building processes cannot keep pace with the constant breaking down process. And there we face the problem of aging. And a point is reached when the process of creation and process of breaking down cannot continue further, which means in that organized vehicle, the process of Nitya Sarga stops, and therefore only the process of breaking down or disintegration proceeds, which we call death. So this applies to physical body. Same will apply to the subtler bodies like astral body or mental body. And ultimately we will have only the immortal principles remaining. So that is about the physical evolution. So far as the intellectual evolution is concerned, because occult philosophy is more concerned with the um, psychic, intellectual, and spiritual development of man. Not so much about the physical framework of the bodies possessed by the man. Though they are important in the process of evolution, what really matters is the ultimate goal, man realizing his true nature, which is divine. And therefore, this journey towards achievement of that status of divinity is the whole and sole purpose of evolution. So, this intellectual journey relates to the development of the middle principle, manas, which is perhaps the distinguishing factor between the animal and man. We say man is a thinking animal, which underlines the main differentiating factor between animal and man. Man is self-conscious being. Man doesn't live by only natural instinct. Man thinks not just superficial thinking, but deep thinking also, pondering over things, meditating, a process of understanding. First, he goes through the process of understanding from others, and then from his own inner untapped faculties. We normally differentiate these two as tuition and intuition. Tuition is a process of learning from external sources. Intuition is a process of learning from one's own inner source. So, first part depends upon our senses, jnanendriyas, senses of the physical body, but that is a sort of borrowed knowledge. Only when man utilizes his mental faculties more and more, he is able to explore the possibilities which are hidden because they pertain to what we call the concrete mind as against um, the concrete mind is the lower mind, which is necessary for our living on the physical plane, where our consciousness is mostly confined to lower realms of consciousness. To transcend those limits, which means unfolding of our consciousness, we need to utilize our subtler vehicles. Vehicles like our astral body, mental body, which are subtler than the physical body, but which are again not separate but integrated. And together we function as a man. So, as long as we are consciously focused on the physical body, the subtler aspects of our personality remain in the background, neglected or unutilized, not properly exercised, and therefore not developing to their potential. So, here again, the conscious efforts on the part of an individual are required for development of these subtle bodies. Will aspect, which is the aspect of again our higher principles, will, wisdom, love, we call. So that will, the more we exercise that will, more we can give the necessary direction and momentum to our evolution, which is not the physical evolution but the intellectual and the spiritual evolution. How we utilize our mental faculties? Do we give the necessary exercise to our mental apparatus or mental body? Physical exercise will develop physical body. But what about the emotional and the mental or intellectual body? Those who make conscious efforts to activate these subtler bodies, experience development of those untapped potentials. That is the development of the personality in true sense. So we have to lead a life where there is a greater place or importance given to our activities pertaining to these subtler bodies in comparison to the physical body. As long as the consciousness is focused on the physical body, with identification with the physical body, the needs of the physical body occupy our attention more. They occupy a place of priority in our preferences. But when the consciousness shifts from the grosser body to the subtler emotional or mental bodies, our priorities start changing. Then food, shelter, clothing, which are basically the needs of the physical body, are replaced by our emotional and intellectual needs, which we feel as more important for our growth, development, and ultimate realization of the goal of life. What for we are here, that thought becomes prominent in our mind, and that reflects in our planning for the future, in outlining the course of our life. So that is a turning point, a change from pravritti marga to nivritti marga, where this intellectual evolution takes upper hand. And as these vehicles develop, we more and more feel the inner urge to know our true nature. Who am I? What for I am here? And accordingly, man realizes his inner potentials. The understanding or realization of the spiritual potentials comes when the intuitive faculties develop, which relate to the development of the abstract mind, the upper planes of the mental body. As we know, the whole process depends upon the vibration of the particles which compose the bodies. And smaller the particles, it is capable of vibrating at higher speeds. At lower levels, the vibrations are slow and they reflect only the lower type of emotions and thoughts. While at higher level, where the particles are smaller in size, refined, capable of vibrating at greater speeds, are capable of also expressing higher things, holy things, and that movement of being conscious of the higher things gives us a momentum towards our ultimate goal in life, which is the spiritual development, the development of our real nature. That real nature is divine, but that is in the that is a potentiality which needs to be tapped consciously with efforts and with proper understanding of the laws of evolution of higher life. And that is connected intimately with understanding of the life as a principle. Life is one. Forms are different, but the life, the dweller, or the owner of the vehicles is not the vehicle. So when we consciously identify ourselves with that owner, the life principle or the Atman, we gain control over our vehicles. Till then, our vehicles or bodies have an upper hand, even though potentially they are subordinate to the owner of the body. In practice, they have an upper hand because the highest principle in us cannot asserts, cannot assert without the cooperation of the vehicles possessed. And that cooperation comes only when the vehicles come up to a minimum standard of development where they can respond to the expectations of the owner, the Atman. And once they come up to that level, Atman takes control of evolution and is able to utilize the vehicles for fulfillment of owner's needs, not the vehicle's needs. Then the journey is fast. In every incarnation, there is a transformation, rapid transformation, which is referred to as metempsychosis. It has been clarified here that it is not a process of just transformation of the soul from one body to another. It is the movement of the essence. There are two types of things referred to in secret doctrine. One is the physical plasm, and another is the spiritual plasm. One is transferred by heredity, The other is the of ancestral origin, not from parent to the offspring by heredity, but by the transfer of the permanent atoms, we can say. So the qualities transferred to man by parents are limited or restricted to the physical evolution, while other higher types of evolution are not by just heredity from the parent to the offspring, but it is through the agency of the Dhani Chauhans who have that essence of the five principles, which are essential for constitution of human being. Just physical formation of the body will not produce the divine man, will only produce an animal man. The divine man, which man is ultimately going to be after passing through the various cycles of evolution, is by transmission of higher principles, and which is taken care of by the hierarchy of life. Yes. So that process will ensure making of a man. Man evolving into a divine being, or man reaching that state of perfection of a adept, which is the state which is expected to reach through several incarnations. So realization of that and conscious effort to reach that is essential for his spiritual evolution. There is much which can be explained in this whole process, but for limitation of time, I stop here, and we can perhaps, if time permits, if there are any questions, we will try to clarify these points. Here I will stop. Brother Gupta ji.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who would like to ask any question or wants to say something else? I think, brother, your talk was very clear. You said interesting, up to the point. So most of the members here, they've understood clearly what you wanted to convey. So I'll thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll close the meeting with the universal prayer. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Thank you, Brother Tendulkar ji. Thank you very much. And
Thank
thank
you,
you to
sir.
all who have attended. Thank you. Thank you very much. meeting is closed now.